Everyone, sorry I'm slightly late. Hope everybody's doing well. Happy Friday. Oh, this camera is pointed way too up. Okay, that's better. I got a haircut, but I haven't taken a shower, so it looks a little weird. And there's not all that much hair, but this is my life. I'm 50. Welcome to my Friday chat. This is for anyone who subs to me. First of all, thank you. That subscribes, not submits, subscribes to me. So thank you for being here, first and foremost. Always appreciate it. I try to answer a ton of questions every week. This has been a long week. So on Tuesday night, for those of you who follow me here, I did a live stream with Chuck Todd and the Decision Desk HQ people about the Texas primary. That was awesome. It went from 7:30 to midnight. I hosted or emceed a big Trust in Media event on Thursday in DC, which was really cool. So, man, I mean, it's great, but it's been a long week. We are going to do more live streams. So if you like the live stream with Chuck and I and Decision Desk HQ, there will be more. I think our next one's going to be in 11 days. That is the Illinois primary. I will tell you, I've got my kids' spring break starts after school today, and we've got a bunch of college trips to go on. My son's being recruited for soccer. We're going to a bunch of schools. So I'm going to be in and out a little bit more than I usually am. I'm going to still try to bring my microphone and make content and stuff, but I just want you all to be aware of that. All right. So before we get started, things you can do to help me. One, if you're not already a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. It's easy. It's free. You get content every single day. If you want to support me in a more financial way, and I'm very appreciative if you're able to do that, and I understand not everybody is, you can either do it via the super chat, which people are already doing, which is the little rectangle with the $sign in it. In this chat, you can make a donation. If you do, it goes directly to me to do the kind of journalism that I hope you support, independent and authentic, and here every day. You can also join the Diamond Club, which is my members only tier. It's $6.99 a month. I just posted my worst week in Washington video where I count down the 3 people who had the worst week in Washington. Spoiler alert, Kristi Noem won. I mean, if you couldn't have figured that one out, you don't need me. But you get that video. You get my conversation every Monday, sometimes Tuesday with Chuck Todd. And then you'll get a bunch of other videos. This week, I did a great conversation with my friend Elliot Morris, who runs the Strength in Numbers Substack, about Iran and the polling numbers there. And we talked about Trump more generally. Really interesting. Anyway, all that is to say, please support me. Thank you very much. And let's get started. Okay. Elijah Denton makes a donation via the super chat. Elijah, thank you for supporting independent journalism. Is Vladimir Putin upset with Donald Trump? I don't know. Does something occasion that question, Elijah, that I missed? I've been trying to be pretty on it, and the war in Ukraine and Russia continues to grind on. Donald Trump continues to say that it's the hardest of the 8 wars he solved. The 9th one is the hardest. I think that Vladimir Putin has his own strategic beliefs. I don't think those include making the U.S. happy. I think he will do just enough to keep Donald Trump on the line and on the hook until he can get a deal that he thinks he wants, and he being Vladimir Putin. I don't know that Putin views the world in happy or upset. I think he views the world in strategically in his interest or strategically not in his interest. That would be my guess. Eric Mays, Eric, thank you for making a donation via super chat, and thank you for supporting independent journalism. Eric says, today was first voting day for Virginia redistricting. I just cast my vote. Any chance this gets through? That's right. So, Eric, if I'm not mistaken, the vote is we'll know this referendum on April 21st. So this is to try to approve a map for people who aren't from Virginia or aren't following this stuff super closely, to approve a map that takes the Virginia delegation from 6 Democrats and 5 Republicans to 10 Democrats and 1 Republican. Obviously, we know Abigail Spanberger won the governor's race in the fall of 2025. Democrats took over everything there because she won so convincingly. And one of her first moves was, and this is under pressure from the National Party, to try to get more seats for the Democratic Party before the 2026 election. Will it pass? I think it probably will, although I have not seen a bunch of polling on it just yet. Remember, Virginia is at a baseline, a Democratic state now, right? The Northern Virginia suburbs have grown and grown and grown and grown more Democratic. They cast a massive amount of the vote. Then you have sort of the Tidewater, Virginia Beach area. That's it's both a lot of military down there, but also heavily African American. That's another vote center to watch. But I kind of assume it's going to pass, but I have not dialed into it yet. And obviously, that would be 4 more seats for Democrats. And remember, too, the Democratic base is very, very energized, Eric, at this point in Virginia and elsewhere. Look, the jobs report today, 92,000 jobs lost in the month of February, the unemployment rate up. Does not make the case Donald Trump is trying to make, which is the one big beautiful bill and his tariffs have made the economy better. Those numbers are just so bad for any Republican politician trying to win re-election with an unpopular president. It's like the hope they have is the economy starts to turn around, and those numbers, at least that I saw, suggested it is not turning around. All right. ZND. Hi, CMC. Happy Friday. To ask the inverse of a previous query, which Dem challenger would be the most expedient for Collins to hang on for dear life in this November, if it's even possible? So I think Graham Plattner is a more, if you gave Susan Collins truth serum and said, who would you rather run against this fall? I think she would say Graham Plattner. Now, that doesn't mean that Graham Plattner can't win, or that Susan Collins' assessment that he's the weaker of the two candidates between him and Janet Mills is right. I think it could be wrong. But if you look at Plattner, he's a guy who's never run for anything before, number one. So that it's hard to run for these statewide offices in any state. So he's never run for anything before. Second, man, it's a target-rich environment. All of his writings in the past, some of them are, intolerant at best. The tattoo that he says he didn't know was Nazi iconography, but appears to be Nazi iconography, and the way he answered questions about it, very odd. Look, I did an interview this week. I think it was Tuesday. I can't remember. Everything blends together. It might have been Monday with Janet Mills, the governor of Maine, who is the other candidate in this race. And she picked out one line that said, Plattner saying, white rural Americans are all racist. And she said, there are a lot of white rural people in Maine, and Susan Collins is going to use that against Graham Plattner. It's absolutely 100% yes. Now, it might be a year where people are like, I want an outsider. He said some stuff in the past, but so has Donald Trump, and we voted for him. I think that's possible. But if you put, again, like I said, if you gave Susan Collins true serum, I think she would say Plattner. All right, let's keep going. But good question. Brendan Fleming. Brendan, as always, thank you via the super chat for supporting independent journalism. It means a ton. Brendan says, happy Friday, Chris. If I'm the GOP, I absolutely do not want Paxton to run in the Texas runoff and want him to drop out. Is it more or less likely that Paxton is pressured to drop out before the runoff? Oh, yeah. Look, worst case scenario for the Republican Party with Tallarico now as the Democratic nominee, the more electable of those two Democrats. Worst case scenario is they go all the way through, Cornyn and Paxton, go all the way through a May 26 runoff that Paxton wins. Because that would be another $100 million at least spent. And then you'd still have the weaker nominee as your standard bearer against Tallarico. I think that is why Trump has come out and said, I'm going to endorse someone, and the person I don't endorse needs to get out. Every indication is he's going to endorse Cornyn. Now, is Paxton going to get out? Everybody's got a price. Now, he said yesterday, if the SAVE Act, which is this, voter ID act, passes through the Senate, I'll get out of the race. But I can't imagine that happening. To do that, John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, would have to get rid of the filibuster on legislative stuff. I don't think he's doing that. He's repeatedly said he's not. I don't think he's going to do it to get Ken Paxton out of this race. But I still assume Trump is going to endorse Cornyn. And he is going to try to force Paxton out of the race, whether Paxton gets something or not. Can Paxton stay in? He can, of course. Can he win if Trump is aggressively this guy sucks, he needs to get out? Probably not. if Trump just endorsed Cornyn and never said anything, like I like John Cornyn, he didn't badmouth Paxton or anything like that, maybe. But man, it's hard if the president is beating that drum and calling you a loser and saying you're costing the party, blah, 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 blah. So I don't know what's going to happen. I think the first domino to fall is Trump endorses Cornyn, which I assume will happen in the relatively near future. And then let's see if Trump can get Paxton out. Because you're right, that is the worst case scenario if he keeps running. Albert Limos, thank you for supporting independent journalism via the super chat, my friend. He says, thoughts on NOEM being reassigned? I think it's so funny. All these people freaked out online. The right freaked out online because people said she was fired. She was fired. They put her in a job that doesn't even exist yet. They're announcing it. What is it? The special envoy for the Shield of the Americas? It's not even a thing. I mean, they're making it a thing, but it doesn't even exist yet. They're announcing it this weekend at Mar-a-Lago. And the special envoy to the Shield of the Americas ain't Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. Okay. So slightly less high profile role. So yes, of course she got fired because she did a bunch of things that pissed Trump off. She tried to take too much credit. She was having, it seems like, an affair with Corey Lewandowski, who is her junior person at DHS. She was putting her ambitions in front of Trump's ambitions. She got $200 million to do an ad campaign. She botched Minneapolis and put Greg Bovino in charge. I mean, any one of those things is probably a fireable offense. To me, she would have been gone under any past president long before this. The fact that she hung on for as long as she did, and the fact that Trump didn't just outright say, get out of my government. Instead, he said, I'm going to give you a different job, speaks to how much he hates being seen as giving into elite opinion. I mean, like, he wanted her out, but he didn't want to give in to people saying she should get out. So very weird. Anyway, Albert, thank you for your support. Okay, let's keep going. Human NC. Hi, Chris. Who do you think Dems are more likely to nominate, AOC or Gavin Newsom, and who is more likely to win? Weirdly, I think AOC and Newsom occupy a similar space in the Democratic Party in 2028. They're both going to be pretty strongly anti-Trump. Maybe Newsom will be a little bit more vocal, but more moderate in policy. AOC might be slightly less anti-Trump all the time. Not like she's going to be supportive of him, but is going to be more liberal on policy. I actually think the choice is going to be between like an AOC Newsom type and a Shapiro, Buttigieg, Andy Beshear type, someone who's like tonally much more moderate, who is more Tallarico than Crockett, in terms of like Crockett in that primary was the more partisan of the two. She wasn't more liberal. They're both pretty liberal. In fact, she might have been more moderate than Tallarico, but it wasn't about policy. She's the more partisan. She was the one who was saying, Trump needs to go. Tallarico didn't really talk about Trump. I think you're going to see a similar split in 2028. There's going to be candidates who, of course, mention Trump some, but they don't center their campaign on Trump. And then there's going to be some who do. I think Newsom is in the some who do category. I think a Josh Shapiro, a Buttigieg are going to be like, yeah, Trump's bad, but we need to talk about what we're good at. So we'll see. Daniel Cranston. Daniel, thank you for supporting independent journalism via Super Chat. Daniel says, if the Republicans get hammered in the midterms and then Republican lawmakers openly defy Trump, how much damage could Trump do in the remaining years of his presidency? Are there any real checks? I don't think that Republican lawmakers are going to, yes, I think if they really do badly in the midterms, and every indication is that they will, there will be more Republican elected officials who break with Donald Trump. No question. I don't think it's going to be the vast majority of them, because the truth is Donald Trump is still very popular in the Republican Party. And it's not like if they lose the election, he's going to say it was his fault. He's going to blame the polls and, it was rigged, and the media and people who Republicans who didn't support him enough. And so the base of the party, I don't know that they're ever going to abandon him. And if they don't ever abandon him, I think the bulk of Republican elected officials won't abandon him. What damage could he do? Look, if he doesn't control the House, if Democrats control the House, which I think they will, he is more limited in what he can do. A compliant Republican majority in the House and Senate has made it easier for Donald Trump to do what he wants. If he doesn't control the House or the Senate, if Democrats win both, it's even more difficult for him to do. Now, we've seen with executive orders and, his willingness to kind of like do things and dare people to sue him for it. Yeah, he can do some stuff, but I actually don't think that scenario will come to pass. Oh, Julius Dixon just joined the Diamond Club. Thank you, Julius. And I give you a row. And yes, I know people have said I need to buy a soundboard to play my dog noise or my barking. I'm looking at that. It's potential. Haven't bought it yet. Julius, thank you. Look, I always say this. I really think the Diamond Club is awesome if you like what I do. You're going to get all the videos I do anyway. You're also going to get a weekly, hour-ish long conversation with Chuck Todd every week about the news of the week, except probably next week because I'm on spring break. And you're going to get a Worst Week in Washington video every Friday. I just posted it before I went on this live stream that I go through the person, place, or thing who has the worst week in Washington. So like you're going to get 2 awesome more videos no matter what. And usually you're going to get 1 to 3 more conversations I have with newsmakers and politicians and that sort of thing, interviews I do. So I think it's really worth it. And you support independent journalism, $6.99 a month. The cost of 1 venti chai tea latte. Oh, I got a star on mine today. Actually, it's probably cheaper than 1 venti chai tea latte. But Julius, welcome and thank you. Let's see. Golf King, who is a member of the Diamond Club. You can see if you look on the super chat, anyone who's got green on their handle is a member of the Diamond Club. What is your opinion on Ken Paxton and the SAVE Act? Well, so as I said, Paxton is saying, I'll drop out of the race if Republicans pass the SAVE Act. I don't think they're going to. I just don't. To do that, they need to break a filibuster. They do not have 60 votes. They are not going to have 60 votes for an electoral reform act that, yes, includes voter ID mandated nationally. So in order to do that, you basically ends what made the Senate unique. I mean, if you get rid of the legislative filibuster, we've already gotten rid of the judicial filibuster. If you get rid of the legislative filibuster, the Senate is basically the House. It's just majority rule. I don't think Thune is going to do that. Trump has already pressured him. I don't think he's going to do it. I think ultimately Paxton is trying to put a price on getting out. I'm not sure it's going to get paid, and I think he's probably going to get forced out anyway. Brett Green, hi, Chris. On a scale from 1 to 10, how shocked are you Cornyn is ahead by 1.2%? I remember you said all night Paxton was going to be ahead after Election Day vote came in. Yeah, look, Cornyn did significantly better in this Tuesday vote than I think myself and almost everyone else in the political world thought. Now, he didn't win outright, but the fact that he finished first, granted, it's 42% to 41%, but the fact that he finished first, I think, makes it much more likely that Trump was willing to endorse him. Trump doesn't like to back people who don't come in first, even if it's a primary and there's going to be a runoff. So yes, he did far better. Now, he spent $70 million on the primary to make that happen. Paxton spent 1/10 of that. Wesley Hunt, the other guy, spent even less than that. So he got his money's worth. They have a very good team. Rob Jesmer, longtime consultant, is in there. Chris LaCivita, who did work obviously for Trump in 2024, is in there. Tony Fabrizio is the pollster, who is Trump's pollster. They have a really talented team. I was always skeptical that no matter how good the team you have, if the people don't like the candidate or the product you're selling, I'm not sure it sells. Well, they did a good job of getting everyone possible to come out and vote for Cornyn, and their hard work is paying off because now I think Cornyn has to be considered, particularly if Trump endorses him and tries to force Paxton out, has to be considered the favorite. Nostalgic American. For the sake of argument, let's say James Tallarico wins in November. Wouldn't he be the perfect 28 presidential candidate? He can appeal to so many groups, just like Obama in 08. Well, if he won, yeah, I mean, it's pretty fast to turn around. Remember, Obama got elected in 04 and ran for president in 08. This would be getting elected in 26 and running for president in 28. That's a very tight turnaround. If he won, I think Tallarico would immediately be sort of someone that we talk about as maybe a vice presidential candidate. I don't think a presidential candidate that quick turnaround, but a vice presidential candidate. And if he wasn't picked, a presidential candidate in 2032 or 2036. Again, the thing that will be hard for Tallarico is, let's say he gets elected. You got to think that in 2032, unless Texas changes drastically, you're right at the top of the Republican target list. So you got to figure out, can I move up the ladder before I lose or before I potentially lose? Because it's always challenging in a state like that. Now, Texas demographics can change, but I think president is probably a little too fast, but he would be in the mix. Let's see. Sherry Zimmerman, greetings from Olympia, Washington. I have 2 adult children teaching school in Kuwait City, told to shelter in place, told to get out with no assistance. Please make this issue a bigger deal. Yeah, I mean, look, the Iran situation is ongoing. I think the fact that a lot of people like Sherry's kids are having trouble getting out of a region that obviously Iran is targeting now is very, very scary, and we should talk about it. It suggests that the planning for this wasn't all that well thought out. And I'll note, just for people, that one of Donald Trump's main criticisms, and I thought a fair criticism of Joe Biden, was that Biden didn't plan for leaving Afghanistan particularly well. People were left behind, et cetera. You know, you saw the pictures of people like clinging onto the wheels of planes. And yet he's at least at some part repeating that same mistake in the Middle East right now. Sherry, thanks for bringing up that issue. Jim Pedinato, Jim, thank you for supporting independent journalism via the super chat. And I love that we've got some new people supporting me through the super chat. We usually have the same old folks. I'm really glad for people who are willing to every week make a donation, but I'm thrilled we've got some new names here too. So Jim says, why does the media treat Stephen A. Smith's presidential talk seriously when everyone knows a campaign would quickly expose his ignorance and lack of understanding of policy and government operations? I agree. To me, I don't think you should take Stephen A. Smith's presidential aspirations seriously, because he's doing it because it gets him attention, not because he really wants to run for president. I'd be stunned if Stephen A. Smith ran for president. Now, when you say his ignorance and lack of understanding of policy and government operations, look, I could make an argument that when Donald Trump ran for president in 2015, he was at least as unversed in those things as Stephen A. Smith is right now. I mean, he had been a businessman. Yeah, he had thoughts about tariffs. He had thoughts about sort of corporate taxes and that sort of thing, but he didn't know anything about like foreign relations, or, you know what I mean? Like how the House and Senate work. So that part to me doesn't disqualify Stephen A. Smith. I just think he's doing this because he likes politics. He loves people he doesn't want to just be a sports guy, right? He loves people having him on his show, their shows, so he can talk politics, right? Serious conversation. But I cannot imagine that he would ultimately run. Speaking of people who support me every single week, Matt Davidson, realtor, who is a member of the Diamond Club and still makes donations through the super chat. Thank you, Matt. Matt says, I have a friend who's a Paxton voter. Odd, I know. And she says the media has it wrong. That is, Paxton loses in Texas, his voters will jump to Tallarico. Thoughts? So I don't know. I think that Paxton has kind of an odd coalition, right? He's very much a populist. I mean, he definitely has support on the kind of hard MAGA right. I think those people are unlikely to go to Tallarico. But then I also think he has support among people who don't trust either party. There is like a Trumpian appeal to Paxton in Texas, which is like, he's kind of an oddball. He's had all these scandals and controversies. He somehow survived. Like, people who said this to me, he's got the Kavorka. You remember, is it Kramer who has the Kavorka? Like, women are just attracted to him, even though he's not attractive. Paxton has some level of Kavorka with voters in Texas. So it's not just hard right MAGA types. I think those people will vote for Cornyn, or they won't vote at all, which is a problem for Cornyn if he's the nominee. Are there some Paxton primary voters who would vote for Tallarico in the general? Sure. Is it a statistically meaningful amount? I don't know that. All right, we're about 25 minutes in. Let me quickly say, if you weren't here at the beginning, thank you for joining. A couple things you can do. You can hit that subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber to my channel. We went over 175,000 this week, which is awesome, on the march to 200K. Thank you all for your support. Other things you can do. You can join my Diamond Club, which is my membership tier. Bunch of people have done it. We've gotten a ton of people adding of late. You get 2 videos extra every week at least. Usually you're going to get about 4 extra videos a week. That's a combination of conversation with Chuck Todd every week, me picking the worst week in Washington, interviews with lawmakers, interview with newsmakers. So check that out under the membership tab. Or if someone who's in the Diamond Club, if you can provide a link in the super chat, I'd very much appreciate it so people can see it. You also can donate via the super chat, which lots and lots of people are doing, and I'm hugely grateful for. All right, let's keep going. Let's see. Sam. Hi, Chris. Why would Mark Wayne Mullen give up a lifetime Senate seat for Department of Homeland Security? And why do you think serving in the Senate sucks so bad right now? Well, I would say, Sam, let me answer the second question first. serving in Congress, House or Senate, I think sucks right now because you don't do much. Like Republicans basically are like letting Donald Trump do whatever the hell he wants, right? So you're not doing anything. And I know a lot of people say, oh, well, they don't want to do anything. No, I think they do want to do things. You know, you're just not doing a hell of a lot. You're doing some stuff, more than I think people think. But by and large, you're not doing anything big, right? You're kind of like waiting for what Trump says and then doing that. Why would Mark Wayne Mullen want to leave? Well, serving in the president's cabinet is very, very prestigious. It gets you, I think, weirdly to a different level, a higher level than just being in the Senate. Pete Buttigieg, right? Like he's in the president's cabinet. He spent all 4 years in Biden's cabinet. Now he's like, presidential candidate. He had been a mayor before. I know he hadn't been a senator, but I think for a lot of these guys, they get frustrated in the Senate. Senate is hard. You're not an executive. You're a legislator. Even in the best possible world, where the Congress is empowered, you're not doing all that much. I hate to say it, but you're not. So, I think he figures I'll do this. And then who the hell knows? Like maybe I'm in the mix for VP in 2028. Maybe I'm the attorney general in 2028. Maybe I run myself at some point. So, I agree with you. You're right. He could have held that Oklahoma seat forever, or at least for as long as he wanted, probably given kind of the long-term demographic and political trends in Oklahoma. But I think it's for some people, at least, it's a frustrating job because you're not an executive. You can't just say let's do X thing and it happens, which in a lot of ways being the cabinet secretary is. I hope that makes sense, but it's a good question. Country Club back. Thank you for supporting me, my friend. Hello from Norway. Okay. Early Holland. If Democrats win the Senate, they will try to impeach Trump. What will Trump have to do then for 16 Republicans to cross the floor? I wouldn't be so sure that they will try to impeach Trump. The House will impeach Trump, but Trump, I think it's very unlikely Trump would be convicted in the Senate. I think, let's say Democrats have 52 seats. That would be a pickup of 5. Okay, that'd be significant. Let's say they have 52 seats even. Well, they need 66 to impeach Trump. There's no way 14 Republicans are voting for that. They're just not. What's the thing that you're impeaching him on? Remember, January 6th happened and only 7 Republicans voted to impeach him, right? I think that's right. 7 Republicans voted to convict him in the Senate. So the House might try to impeach him. I think that would be a mistake, but they would a political mistake. We can debate about whether it's a legal mistake or not, but I don't think that would happen in the Senate. But thank you from Norway. Thank you for supporting me. And we have a new member, Scott's Loop, member of the Diamond Club. Do people still raise the roof? That's probably not a thing. Welcome, Scott's Loop. Here we go. Let's keep going. Sorry. Blah, 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 da, da, da. Michael Gates, happy Friday, Chris. In 2024, you suggested that Trump might start firing his appointees even faster than his first term, but it took him more than a year to fire his first secretary. Why? It is interesting, Michael. In the first term, he got rid of so many people. And maybe that's, why he hasn't as much. Now, I will note, he did get rid of his national security advisor, Michael Waltz. Now, he made him the U.S. Secretary of the United Nations, or ambassador. So it wasn't like he kicked him out, but it's clearly a demotion, kind of like NOEM. I think part of it is Trump he saw in the first term that he would get rid of these people and it wouldn't fix everything. And the media would be, in his mind, out for another pelt. Who do they want next? He hates giving in to, again, elite opinion. So I think that has at least something to do with it, because he knows getting rid of Kristi Noem fuels multiple negative news cycles for him, and he doesn't like that. But it is a huge contrast to how he operated in the first term. No question about it. Director of Cats joins the Diamond Club. Booyah! I'm going to raise the roof again. Oh my God, that makes me look 250 years old. Welcome, and I give you a thank you for joining. I think anyone who joins, you will get your money's worth. That I absolutely promise you. Dan W., who is already a member of the Diamond Club. 80-20 issue. Why do we still have daylight savings? Can we please end the madness? Do you know the status of that bill that Ted Cruz, yes, I agree with Ted Cruz for once, introduced is at? So it used to be Marco Rubio was the big daylight savings get rid of guy. I'm with you. Makes no sense. But for whatever reason, it it doesn't go anywhere in Congress, really. So yeah, I'll look into it, Dan. I agree. Like, it's so dumb that we do it. It's like there's more car accidents. People are sleepier at the job. But it was Rubio. It lost its big champion because Rubio was the guy. I guess Ted Cruz has picked up the mantle. Maybe that will be the fundamental plank of his 2028 presidential bid. Pocket watch. Pocket, my friend. Thank you for supporting independent journalism via the super chat. You should make raising the roof a thing again. It would be awesome or hilarious. Definitely hilarious. I mean, when you do that and you're me, and you have this hairline, you literally I look like Grandpa Abe Simpson. Let's see. The undergraduate CFP. Do you think Kristi Noem will try to be to primary Mike Rounds in 26 or Thune in 28? I'm a South Dakotan, and a majority of Republicans here do not like her, but I'm curious to your thoughts. Love your content. Thank you, my friend. There had been talk of Noem primarying Mike Rounds in the Senate in 2026 this year. I don't think she's going to do that. I think that she's going to be scalded by this whole thing. I don't think she'd beat Thune in a primary either if he runs again in 2028. I don't know what she'll do. Maybe she'll try to rehab and run for governor again. I don't know, but this, I think that if she had been able to exit on her own and be like, you know what, I've had a great run and I've accomplished everything I want. Now I'm running against Mike Rounds. That might be one thing. But this, where like Donald Trump is like, get out. I don't see it. But it's a fascinating question. I'm really interested in it. Danny asks about Paxton saying he'll drop out if the SAVE Act passes. I mean, yeah, again, but that's like me saying, if somebody pays me $100 million, I'll stop making content. No one's paying me $100 million. I don't think the SAVE Act is passing. Like, that's the hard thing. Like, you would have to get rid of the Senate filibuster. And that's a big deal that I don't think these people want to do it. Like, I just don't. Let's see. John C., do Democrats actually have a chance to win in Texas? Was Tallarico the stronger choice? Also, now with Montana possibly in place, seems like Dems have a lot of opportunities if they play their cards right. Yeah, color me slightly skeptical of Montana. I'm going to write about this. I mean, what Steve Daines, the incumbent Republican, did in Montana is disgraceful. They basically engineered it so that the candidate they wanted to replace him was the only Republican who could file, and no other top tier Democrats could file. Now, there is a guy in that race, Seth Bodner, who's an independent, fascinating guy, was the president of the University of Montana, is a very, military service, very interesting guy, raised a bunch of money. Montana's hard. Trump won by 20 in 2024. Sure, Tallarico has a chance. Has to have everything go right and probably has to have Paxton be the nominee. If Cornyn is the nominee, I think it's going to be really, really hard. Matt Davidson, Realtor, supports me again via the super chat and says only Pete Buttigieg raises the roof. I don't know if that makes it better or worse. Rich Roma. Rich, always good to hear from you, and thank you for supporting me via the super chat. Rich says Trump could save the midterms by signing an executive order for ending daylight savings changes. That would be amazing. He could do, if he did that and he banned anyone trying to get onto the elevator before you, who is on the elevator, get off, I might vote for him. Yeah. Let's see. Thomas Davenport, member of the Diamond Club. Chris, do you think any Dems will vote for Mark Wayne? Yeah. Fetterman has already said he'll vote for Mark Wayne Mullen. And again, these cabinet things, you only need 50. So if Fetterman votes for him and every Republican votes for him, he's already got it easily. Will any others? I don't know. It's a really good question. Maybe. I mean, again, remember, he's a member of the Senate. It's a very exclusive club. They look out for their own. Remember, Marco Rubio got 99 votes. I think there was one person absent, but everyone who was there voted for Marco Rubio. So it's like, that's what they do. Director of Cats, who's not only a member of the Diamond Club, newly arrived, but also just made a donation. Hello from Italy. Amazing. I'm curious to hear your take on the chances of a left populist ever winning the White House. For me, it seems impossible, but Democrats are proposing a lot of them lately. So it's a very good question. AOC is a lefty populist. She's the closest you're going to get, I think, assuming she runs. She's the closest you're going to get in a race like this, an economic populist on the left. I think there's real power in that messaging. I mean, I think there's real power in populism in general. Donald Trump is a populist. Um, can that win the White House? I think for an economic populist message to win the White House, you would need to have an economy that people are convinced needs saving badly, is really not working for anyone other than the richest people. You would have to have a real turn against Donald Trump's economic policies of sort of, we're going to look out for corporations. We're going to give these people breaks because it's going to trickle down. It's not impossible. In fact, that scenario could actually happen given where we are right now economically and how people perceive the haves and the have-nots. It's one of the reasons that I think that people who say AOC can't be the nominee or can't win, I remind people this all the time, but I'm going to do it again. Donald Trump is the 2-term president of the United States. So please don't tell me about who can't win elections in this country, right? Luma, thank you for your donation via the super chat. Very much appreciated. If a Democratic Socialist, the Bernie wing, got the nomination, would you then vote in a presidential election? No, that wouldn't change my opinion. I mean, I'm not like a lefty populist or a righty populist. Again, I know I say this all the time. People don't like it, but I'll reiterate it. The thing that I struggle with is this. I have spent my whole career. I was not into politics before I started working in political journalism. I was not a member of the Young Republicans. I was not a member of the Young Democrats. I didn't do any of that stuff. The lens through which I have always seen politics, which I am absolutely passionate about, is the journalistic lens. And that, I know this is weird for people who are activists or partisans, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but just different. Is I see it through the lens of, is this good? Is this bad? Politically speaking, is this a smart move? Is it a dumb move? And I've just always had that lens to look at politics through. And it makes it hard for me to be like, yes, I don't love either party. Do I think Donald Trump is doing some things that are going to leave lasting long-term damage to this country? 100% yes. Do I think he is stretching the rubber band of democracy in ways it's never been stretched before? 100% yes. Do I think he is fundamentally amoral? Yes. Do I then think that means that I have to support Democrats in their policies and whatever no, because I want something better. I don't think the Democratic Party is any great shakes at the moment. And I know some people will be like, it doesn't matter. It's a 2-party system. You have to support it. Well, I don't feel like I have to. Anyway, thank you for the question. I hope that answers something. LGF18 says, I love the live stream. That was awesome. It was really, really fun. Casey A. Peterson says, watching you and Chuck on election nights is kind of like watching Statler and Waldorf. I know. We know we have that vibe. Why do we always come here? I guess we'll never know. It's like some kind of torture to have to watch the show. If you've never seen the Muppet Show, folks, just go watch the Muppet Show. It's a soundtrack of my youth. I love doing it. It's really fun. Chuck and I get along really well. I actually saw him yesterday at this Trust in Media event that I emceed. He moderated a panel. I think we have very similar views of politics and very similar views of the journalism world. Not the same, but similar. We get along. We trust each other. So yeah, like I said, we're going to do these live streams with Decision Desk HQ, who calls all the races. We're going to keep doing them. We're big believers in them. I think it's the future of how elections should be covered. Look, Steve Kornacki is now doing his own version of what Chuck and I are doing on NBC's app and on Peacock. That tells you all you need to know about where things are going. Like, these big media companies are starting to wake up. I hope you stick with us, but we're going to keep doing them. Circle, March 17th. Illinois primary, you got a huge Senate race, Democratic primary there, a bunch of congressional races. We will be there. Fenway cheap seats. Chris, what an absolutely insane week for political sickos. Non-political question, though, are the Spurs going to get relegated? So he's talking not about the San Antonio Spurs, but Tottenham Hotspur, my chosen Premier League team. Man, it doesn't look good. It does not. We are absolutely struggling. We are not in good. I cannot believe we're talking about Tottenham potentially being relegated, but I think it's a possibility. Yeah. At which point, I'll still support them, but I got to have a Premier League team. So if you've got a team I should root for, and it can't be Arsenal or Chelsea, can't stand them. Tell me. Good Willie says University of Washington soccer. Yes. University of Washington soccer is amazing. The best thing, they won the national championship. They beat NC State this year. The best thing about University of Washington soccer is Two things. One, every kid on that team is an American kid, not an international that they have shipped in, who's 25 years old, which is most of these top soccer teams in college now. And the second thing is a bunch of those kids were in the ECNL league, which is one of the two elite leagues. That's the one my son plays in. And so I was thrilled. I don't think he's going to University of Washington, or Notre Dame, but I love your optimism. Let's see. I am Christopher Swan. Thank you for supporting independent journalism. Great first name. I'm on the ballot in Illinois for U.S. Senate, but it's likely I won't be the Democratic nominee. Any words of encouragement on what's next? No, I think, unfortunately, Christopher, you are unlikely to be the nominee because you've got some bigs. You've got the Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton in that race, and you've got Rajana Krishnamurthy, who has huge amounts of money that he has saved on this race. I think it's going to come down to the two of them. I would aim slightly lower. Run for state house, run for city council. The U.S. Senate is a big lift. If you've never been elected to anything, you have to raise tens of millions of dollars, especially in a state like Illinois. You got to get known. Start smaller is always my advice for anyone in politics. Don't get out of politics, but it's like, that's like me saying like, oh, I'm interested in becoming a baseball player. Oh, okay. I'll just sign with the Yankees. Oh, I don't know why I can't hit the ball. You gotta get your reps in would be my take. Colin W. Last week you said this is roughly what people voted for. Does the war in Iran change your perspective? I don't think, to be clear, Colin, I don't think the war in Iran is what people voted for. That said, like specifically, because he didn't talk about that. In fact, he said like we shouldn't be in any more foreign wars. That said, I think a lot of people voted for like someone who's going to do stuff and kick ass. I know I'm oversimplifying, but I think a lot of people voted for that, and 90% of self-identifying Republicans in an NBC News poll out this week support the strikes in Iran, which is unbelievable given where the party was. It just shows you that they just support whatever Trump does. But my point is yeah, I think people voted for Trump, whatever that was, whatever they thought it was, whatever he wanted to make it. And so, yeah, I think people do roughly vote for it. Greg Anderson, hey, Chris, won't Iran surrender? Iran won't surrender or Trump won't submit and accept the fact that this war isn't worth the cost of money or American lives. Why are we not feeling better yet or financially better? Yeah, I mean, look, if you're a Republican on the ballot in 2026, right, at any time, but especially a general election in November, you have to hope Donald Trump finds a way by about the end of March to end this and declare victory somehow. Now, I'm not sure there is an obvious victory, but to declare victory and get out and hope people forget about Iran. The economy, people won't forget about. It's a giant problem. He continues to say affordability is a Democratic, a word Democrats made up, which makes no sense. But the economy lost 92,000 jobs in February. The unemployment rate went up. Donald Trump was specifically elected to make things better with the economy. Those numbers suggest it's not getting better. Perception on the economy is very negative. I think we are at least at a place where all of the external signs are pointing to a big Democratic wave building. Sometimes that wave gets smaller. Sometimes it gets bigger. Sometimes it stays the same. But yeah, the real Sean Carey, greetings from New Zealand. Amazing. We've had Italy. We've had the UK. Now New Zealand. I think Kristi Noem was running the ads to up her own name ID for a future presidential run. With everything that's happened, do you think she has ruined her future chances? She 100% was upping her name ID to try to run as kind of the immigration hardliner candidate in 2028 or to be the VP to J.D. Vance in 2028. 1,000% agree. Has she ruined her future chances? I think she's hurt them badly. I have learned since Donald Trump lost, questioned the election, helped foment the January 6, 2021 riot at the U.S. Capitol, then got reelected in 2024. I have learned not to say fill in the blank, can't ever win or run for anything again. So I'm not going to say that with Kristi Noem, but I think she really has hurt herself. Kelvin Oliver, who is a member of the Diamond Club. Kelvin says, I love Worst Week in Washington. Thank you. With Noem gone from DHS, do you think there will be anyone next from the administration cut? Happy Friday. So I got into some interesting questions on that, Kelvin, in my mailbag that I'm going to do over at my Substack, where I answer a bunch of questions. Like, is this a time where Trump could try to do a reset of some sort? Because like get rid of a bunch of people because he's politically in such a bad spot, get rid of a bunch of people and say like, we're cleaning the slate. he's not that. Yes, this would be a time to do that. He's not really that guy. He could get rid of Hegseth and Gabbard and Bondi, but man, it would probably be chaos. So I don't think he's going to do that, barring some sort of like very, very egregious mistake. I mean, look, I made a video about this week. The Labor Secretary, Lori Chavez de Reamer. If you don't know anything about her, go watch my video about her. I mean, she's not in a great place. Oh gosh, I've missed a couple super chats. Let me just get those. Julian O'Leary, thank you for supporting me. Murkowski caucusing with Dems as Mary Peltola wins. Yes, so this is I'll give Chuck credit for this. This is a Chuck Todd theory, which is if it's 50-50, if Democrats pick up 3 seats and it's 50-50, which would technically mean Republicans would still be in charge because J.D. Vance, the vice president, breaks ties in the Senate, that Lisa Murkowski could be persuaded to become caucus with Democrats if Peltola beats Dan Sullivan in Alaska. Yeah, I could buy that. Again, Lisa Murkowski got elected on a write-in as an independent when Joe Miller beat her in a Republican primary years ago. She has no love for Donald Trump or the Trump version of the Republican Party. So yeah, I could see that. Yeah, absolutely. Quentin Byrne. Chris, I joined the Diamond Club between streams. Is barking still offered? Are you kidding me? Barking is always on offer. Thank you, Quentin. Thank you for supporting me. Brad David, member of the Dime Club. Why is Ken Paxton getting divorced such a big deal? Politicians always get divorced and still win. It's not that big a deal. I think it's the way it played out. Angela Paxton is his I think, soon-to-be ex-wife is a state legislator in Texas, so she's a well-known commodity there. She put out on Twitter, like, Ken has not been loyal to our biblical marriage. Like, it's not the end of the world, but, like, to the extent there are social conservatives still left in the Republican Party, who knows? It's not like the best look if you're Ken Paxton, but that's not why, I think there's plenty of other things with Ken Paxton that are problematic. The real Dak. I think Andy Beshear is the only Democratic contender who has a chance to beat J.D. Vance as the only moderate. What do you think? I think Beshear would be a very difficult challenge for J.D. Vance. I also don't think Andy Beshear is going to be the Democratic nominee. Look, he's the most popular governor in the country. He's a Democratic governor in Kentucky. To me, if you're the Democratic Party, you gotta give him some room to run. Like, promote him. I know we're talking about Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom is a guy from California who's the mayor of San Francisco. I know a lot of people like him, but do you think after what we saw with Kamala Harris that the country, a majority of the country, is going to vote for a guy who's been a 2-term governor of California and was the mayor of San Francisco? I think it's a problem. Rogelio Rodriguez, any advice for Democratic congressional candidates running in traditionally non-competitive districts in 26? Sure. Say that Donald Trump, whatever you think of him, said he was going to make things more affordable, and he hasn't. And that you need a check on the president and the Republican majority, and you can be one. Am I sure that's going to work? No, I'm not sure it's going to work. But if you're running in a district, that would be the message. Like, look, we need to fix the economy. I'm a small businessman or whatever, and I can do it. This isn't about party. Wally Emis, who is a member of the Diamond Club. What is your opinion on the attempt at distraction by starting a war in the Middle East? Was the war inevitable? Again, I've said this before. A lot of people on this chat, on my Substack, on my YouTube, in my real life, are like, well, of course, he's doing fill in the blank thing that Trump is doing. It's just meant to distract from the Epstein files. I'm not a believer that everything is meant to distract from the Epstein files. I don't think that necessarily is borne out. I really don't. Do I think that Donald Trump thought this Iran thing totally through? Probably not. Do I think that that means that the fact that we're at war with Iran means he was doing it so we talk less about the Epstein files? I don't. I just don't think he's that strategic. Julius Dixon, who is a member of the Diamond Club, says, definitely interested in more independent media. I'm really done with the mainstream. Thank you, my friend. Let's see. Sorry, I'm getting through. Justin Spanbauer, you'll get a bunch of new Diamond Club members if you do the barking in a regular video. Won't that creep people out? If I just started randomly barking? All right, let me do 5 more minutes. We're almost at an hour. We're at 49 minutes. Let me do 5 more minutes. But before I do that, let me just say, if you have not given the thumbs up to this, we have over 400 people live on this, which is awesome. Thank you. But hit that thumbs up. Peter Davia, what's the age requirement to be president? he's only 36 and would only be 38. It's 40 years old, I think. I thought it was 35. I'm almost sure it's 35 because AOC is not 40 yet, but she's now over 35. I believe it's 35. I think it's 30 to be in the Senate, 35 to be president. I'm 99% sure about that. But I've been 99% sure about other things and been wrong. All right, I'm just going through here. Mitchell Buck, when is your next appearance on Uncle Tony's show? PTI is still good as ever. Their Wilbon and Tony's chemistry has to be the one on best on TV ever. Explain that. Yeah. I have an email, a text I need to respond to. I want to go on Tony's show as soon as possible. I love doing it. It's a little logistically challenging, but yes, I will be on. The reason that Tony and Mike have such good TV chemistry is because they were doing PTI in the Washington Post newsroom without it being on TV for decades. They were talking about politics, talking about sports. And that's why it's good, because it's a real friendship based on, like, they spent years exchanging views. They just started recording it and putting it on television. That's why it's so good. That's why these forced pairings that mainstream media tries to do when they're like, oh, look, all these people are great friends. They love each other. And then, like, there's no chemistry. It's because they're not friends. The reason that Chuck and I think are good at together is because we're actual friends. Like, we don't agree on everything. We have different approaches on some stuff, but we like each other. So let's see. Brendan Farnan, member of the Diamond Club. Chris, are you surprised more congressional Republicans aren't openly against the war in Iran? Do they not remember how poor it went in Iraq and the backlash against those who supported it? I think they have been convinced by Donald Trump and his people that this is going to be a short-term conflict, that this is not going to be a forever war. Of course, I'm not sure George W. Bush at the beginning thought that Iraq and Afghanistan were going to be a forever war, right? I don't think he thought 25 years later we'd be still not totally out. But I think they've been convinced by that, and that like this is a vote to show your loyalty to Donald Trump, and that's it. Cole W. Senator Hawley is my dark horse for Republican nominee in 28. So I do think Josh Hawley's going to run, senator from Missouri, and I think he's going to try to run as kind of an America First populist, like representing the like Steve Bannon, Marjorie Taylor wing of the party, more than Vance, who is not really that. Can he win? It's going to be hard. You got to raise a ton of money. I think Vance is a prohibitive favorite. Psychopather. Hey, Chris, longtime viewer, first-time live watcher. Awesome. Welcome. Any thoughts on Seth Moulton's chances of beating Ed Markey in the Massachusetts Democratic Senate primary? Well, the primary is not until September, if I'm not mistaken, so it hasn't gotten a lot of attention. Let's see. Clearly, it's a generational primary, right? It's Markey is either in his late 70s or early 80s. Moulton is in his 40s if he's that old. It's hard to beat a Democratic incumbent. It's hard to beat a Republican incumbent. I think I would probably give Markey an edge, but you never know what people want in their kind of like, are they ready to kind of throw the bums out? I think that's possible. Devin Shoulder says, don't do the awkward roof raise with no music. Yeah, that makes it even worse. Toymaker, I do it to embarrass my kids. Toymaker, first of all, thank you for being a member of the Diamond Club. Number two, I embarrass my kids plenty without raising the roof. Scotland, changing daylight savings time will be an enormous engineering act due to the old banking system that have fixed daylight savings dates and energy systems hardwired to daylight savings in their time series. Great point. I never even thought of that. I've never used the word time series once in my life. MiG 190, doesn't Trump demanding unconditional surrender for Iran set Trump up for failure when that doesn't happen? I mean, yes, in theory, but like, he's Trump. I mean, like, it's like one day he says, I have to choose the ruler of Iran. If in a month he says, like, everything's there and it's great, there'll be plenty of people who are like, everything's there and it's great. You know what I mean? So, like, yeah. Thomas McMichael, we're too old to be raising the roof. Take care of your back and knees. I know. I'm just lucky I didn't pull a muscle while trying to raise the roof. M. Paris, and thank you for being a member of the Diamond Club. Who does your athletic son get his skills from, mom or dad? My kids wouldn't stand a chance. Okay, who do you think my athletic son gets his athletic ability from? My wife was a 2-year captain and 4-year varsity Division I athlete. I wasn't. Antonino, will there be a special election for Mark Wayne Mullen's seat this year? Yes, in November there will be. Kevin Stitt, who is the governor of Oklahoma, maybe you might could pick himself, appoint himself to replace Marco A. Mullen. But that person, whoever he picks, will only be in office until November. There'll be a special election. That's going to be a very, very crowded, primary and general election. Vibes and Stuff says, Sunday Reporters, is there an update? Yes, I love that idea. I got your email. I am moving forward to try to do something like that. I got a million things going on. I'm sorry. It's a one-man operation with my wife helping on the business side. So things don't move as fast as I would like. And this week, honestly, sucked. It was fine, but it's just really busy. Joe Rule, damn, that was one of the most authentic and genuine explanations. I hope you mean me talking about voting and politics. Love you, Chris. Both sides are crazy. Would love to see you on Real Time with Bill Maher. I love Bill Maher. I reached out to the Bill Maher people. Nothing. Pocket Watch's Decision HQ is great. They are amazing. Cole W said the Kornacki one was good. I'm sure it was good, but Cole, just stay with us, man. Come on. Wait, why are people saying, yes, it is. Okay, so I just saw 35 like 8 times. It is 35 to run for president. 25 for House, 30 for Senate, 35 for president. Okay. Country Club Back says, thank you for supporting independent journalism. What's your thoughts on a possible Jon Stewart run? I just don't think it's going to happen. I know people are into it. I just don't think it's going to happen. He's got a good life. He said a lot of controversial stuff. I know people think that it could happen. I'm skeptical. Devin Shoulders, thank you for supporting independent journalism. Has a war ever made a president look good? Civil War, Abraham Lincoln, Civil War, Ulysses S. Grant. Maybe after that, no. M. Norma says the Gulf War increased George Herbert Walker Bush's popularity for a while, and George W. Bush's for a while. Yes, true. Julian O'Leary, thank you for the response. Been loving the content lately. Thank you. Says go Duke for March Madness. Let's see. Let me see if anybody else I can sneak in here. Julian O'Leary, Chris, you skipped my super chat question on Lisa Murkowski. I got to it. Let's see. Just checking anything else. Okay, it's 35 to president. All right, I'm going to go. Got a lot of stuff to do. Join the Diamond Club, folks. If you've got $6.99 laying around, and you probably do, go join the Diamond Club. Hit the membership tab. You're going to like what you get. If you like this, if you like my videos, you're just getting more and you're supporting me. So join it if you can. $6.99 a month. If you can't, thank you for everyone who donated in the super chat. That is awesome. If you can't do that, I get it. Hit a thumbs up for me. We had over 400 people in here. We only have 147 likes. Hit that thumbs up for me before you go. If you're already a subscriber, if you're not a subscriber, subscribe. If you're already a subscriber, tell somebody why they should be a subscriber. We are marching toward 200,000 subs. If you like this, you can check out my written content over at Substack. Some of it's free. You got to pay for all of it. That's just search my name, Chris Cillizza, and Substack. Again, like I said, next week is spring break, so I'm going to be in and out a little bit more. Probably won't have as many videos, but I will try to continue to make some. Thank you all for your support. I cannot tell you what it means to me. I love doing this. I love being an independent journalist, so thank you for allowing me to do it. All right, everyone. Take care. Have a good weekend. Take care of yourselves and ideally someone else too.